Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn. And joining me today so far is Nigel. How's it going, Nigel?
Not too bad, Kai. Nice to be back. Thank you.
Um, it is good to be here and to talk football, but not so much glory for Manchester United at the moment. We have to be honest about that. But first of all, we're going to talk about the Sheffield United game. Then we'll move on to the Burnley match. And then we're going to get into a bit of the managerial speculation that's been doing the rounds this week and the links to Thomas Tuchel. So first of all, the Sheffield United game last Wednesday feels like a long time ago now, but United went behind twice in that game, and then ended up winning 4-2, largely thanks to the performance of Bruno Fernandes, who up until the Burnley game has got 7 goals and 2 assists in 5 matches. Where would we be at the moment, Nigel, if Fernandes hadn't found his form again?
Yeah, it's great to see Bruno back among the goals and assists again. And he's the captain of the team, so he should be leading by example, and he's certainly doing that now. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, Sheffield United is the bottom team out of 20 in the Premier League, and Manchester United Football Club should be hammering teams like that, taking the game to them, going past the fullbacks and supplying the centre forward, who, as you and I know, and the faithful know, never gets any chances at all, really. Uh, you see him running off the ball into good positions. He calls, nobody ever, they either ignore him or don't see him or aren't good enough to see him. But 4-2 in the end is a result, and it's a result business. But it didn't fill you or I or most of the United fans with any confidence to go into the next game against Burnley, another team in the bottom three. This is the type of game we should be winning by continental miles and building for the future. We know we're not going to make it into the top four now and qualify for Champions League, but we should be building a team for next season if we retain the same management. But he doesn't have any new strategies. There's no pattern to the football at all. And there are people that are just playing on their reputations and not for the club. And somebody somewhere has to make a change that doesn't happen come August and the new season.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way we should be losing to the team that are adrift at the bottom of the table, now relegated. We were losing to them after 60 minutes of that football match, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Fernandez scored from long range. He scored a penalty and a beautiful assist for Hoyland. That was great service for a change, which he hasn't got enough of this season, Rasmus, and he tucked it away. He was in the right position for it. And I also liked what Bruno had been saying about the youngster Ethan Wheatley, who came on to make his debut, making him the 250th Academy graduate. And Bruno told Wheatley that I've got 9 minutes to try and get you a goal. And he said he was trying to, Wheatley had said in his interview that Bruno was trying to find him. I thought that was a nice touch from the captain. What do you think, Nigel?
Oh, that was lovely. That lovely. There's been so little to clamour about positivity this season, and that certainly was. I mean, the young fella, he was on the bench again on Saturday, wasn't used this time. But I saw that interview, and everybody would feel happy about that because it's the United way to bring these youngsters through. And if they get an opportunity, there was limited time left, and Bruno told them that he would try to help him. And a centre forward and a forward player like Wheatley wants to score. He scored 2 in the under 18s this week, and he looks capable. And if you have the support of your captain in the first team, sure you'd be in the top of the world, wouldn't you?
Yes, absolutely, and we could really do with another striker at the moment, because we only really have one, and the burden has been too much for him at his age, and especially given the lack of service. When you've got two inverted wingers, they're looking to cut in and shoot, and the striker is getting no change at all. Um, Now,
Well, I'll put your mind at rest because Martial's in the picture next week. The manager told us if you're looking forward to his return.
I really hope the manager just being polite, because Martial offers absolutely nothing at this stage, and he will be departing the club at the end of the season. And he hasn't really given a shite for a number of years now. So, and it's just he misses like 2/3 of every season through injury. So I wouldn't even make him. I wouldn't even consider selecting him even on the bench. To be honest with you.
Yeah, well, you're
Um,
talking about Bruno. Bruno has made 45 appearances this season. Martial has made 19. So there you go.
yeah, I didn't even think it was as much as that. To be honest with you. So another positive before we get on to the negatives of the Burnley game is the form of Harry Maguire, now first choice at centre back, probably in part due to injuries, but he has been playing well in recent weeks and getting amongst the goals, which we wanted him to do, from set pieces. And has been a steady influence at centre back, initially alongside Kambuala and now Casemiro. Um, if he wasn't there, we have to probably play two midfielders at centre back. We've been in that situation in the past, and it didn't work out very well. So Maguire looks a shoe in now to start the cup final, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And he's in there on merit. I mean, I hold my hands up. I had agreed with most fans and most pundits that said that he probably would leave, and he had an offer to go to West Ham. He decided not to take it and wanted to get his position back in the first team, and he's done it, and he's playing very well. And he's now, as you always say, he's now scoring goals for United, not just for England. So we're always glad to see that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think last summer, uh, by the accounts of some journalists, he wasn't very pleased with how the club tried to force him out and get that money from West Ham. But he's been professional and got his head down and got himself back in the team. He wants to play for a top club. He doesn't want to go to a mid-table club and be a certain starter there and play 38 games. He wanted to fight his way back into the United team, and he's certainly done that. Um, I think the likes of Varane and Lindelof could depart this summer, but it looks at the moment that Harry will at least be seeing out his 6-year contract, which he signed in 2019. He's also had to deal with the fact of losing the captaincy, which obviously would have been a big psychological blow. But he's come back from that, and done really well of late. So um, now another big talking point at the moment, which I want to come on to, is that fans in recent months have been very, very pleased with the form of Onana. I mean, saying that he's now a very steady, reliable goalkeeper, and I never really signed up to that. Um, he did not convince me that he can now be relied upon, and we don't need to worry about that position anymore. And the last two games have proved me right. He give away a goal to Sheffield United by a slack pass out of the fullback, and then give away a penalty like yesterday. It was an up and under from Casemiro, which didn't help him. But then he came rushing out and then he punched the player in the jaw, trying to punch the ball away, which is similar to the penalty that he should have give away against Wolves in the first game of the season. Um, so he's back to making errors again, Nigel, isn't he, and costing us points.
Yeah, I'm not convinced by him either. There was another occasion in the first half where he tried to punch it out and he flapped at it and it went out for a throw. And those of us watching it just couldn't believe for a professional goalkeeper that he could do something as dangerous as that. But he can shot stop and he made some important saves yesterday. But I wouldn't rely on him totally. No, he wouldn't be, in my heart of hearts, the number one goalkeeper.
No, definitely, he has not convinced me. Now, I think yesterday kind of sums him up. He made a brilliant save in the game to deny Burnley in the first half, and then he just gives away a penalty. And that's his profile. That's what he does. He'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous, and I don't think he's going to meet our ambitions. If we want to win the Premier League title or even finish in the top three of the league and be amongst the likes of Arsenal and Man City, I don't think we can have a goalkeeper like that. That being said, uh, Raya for Arsenal against Tottenham today did something similar to what Onana did against Sheffield United by giving the ball away when he was passing it out, and it
I
led
saw
to a
that.
goal. I
Yeah,
think it
I
was a
saw
goal.
that. But the biggest thing the goalkeeper has going for him, Kyle, is of course he's the manager's boy, like Anthony. you could say that they're in a similar position, that it doesn't seem to matter what the standard of their performances are. They go into the first team because this particular manager signed them. He's far too loyal to bad players. Any decent manager who wants to win major trophies has to make a judgment call when people are playing badly consistently. They shouldn't be in the first team just because you signed them. That's one of the primary reasons he's under pressure, this manager, because he's making that sort of mistake, and you can't do it at the top level in the Premier League.
Yeah, the only thing that I will say is that I don't see Onana being replaced this summer, and that is because of the budget. We have to sign so many players in so many areas. I don't think we'll have any money left to buy another goalkeeper so soon after the last purchase. I don't see us being able to spend another 40 million on a goalkeeper this summer, given that we have to sign centre backs, full backs, midfielders, forwards, wingers. I just don't see there being any money left. So we might have to stick with him for another season unless we can get a goalkeeper on the cheap who's decent, which is very, very unlikely. So I'm just warning you now, Nigel, that we might need to stick with him for another season, unfortunately.
Well, he makes sure the reserve keeper, he doesn't give him an opportunity, so nobody knows whether this fella is good enough to step up. So that's another tactic by Ten Hag, I think. There have been opportunities in minor cup competitions, if you call them minor cup competitions, that he could have been provided with an opportunity. Let's have a look at him, but he still kept playing Onana. So totally baffling to most of us.
Yeah, and the only time he gave the second choice keeper Bayinda an opportunity was against Newport County, and that was because Onana was playing in the African Nations Cup. Other than that, he's not given the sub goalie an opportunity at all. I mean, most clubs will rotate when it comes to the cup competitions, but even Manchester City, eh, but so they even played their second choice keeper in the final of the FA Cup last season, and might do that again this year. But uh,
That's right. He came on at halftime in the Nottingham Forest match this very day. Ortega came in, so it shows you that the Pep has total. He said it was for tactical reasons. I didn't quite get that, but it just shows you that if he has to produce a second goalkeeper, he'll do it. But our manager just won't let that happen.
no, he's played Onana whenever he's available. He plays. Doesn't really give the Bayenda a chance at all. And Bayenda, it's not as if he was signed by a different manager. He came in under Ten Hag's watch. So
Yeah.
I don't really understand that. Um, so what did you make of the performance against Burnley overall? Then I can imagine what's coming here.
It was lethargic, boring, clueless. No atmosphere in the ground. Absolutely nothing happened. He once again chose Anthony to start the game when most of the fan base wanted Ahmad to start the game. He certainly has earned his stripes in that he should be given an opportunity. And within the first 20 minutes, Anthony gave the ball away 3 or 4 times, passing directly to Burnley players, and it was just so predictable. As people often say, he's a one-trick pony, and he hasn't changed. And if he's got 2 FA Cup goals and yesterday his first league goal for a year, this is the substandard of players that we have currently being selected by the manager, Kyle. It was awful yesterday.
Yeah, and that's just been the common theme in recent months. Just absolutely abject performances. Other teams dominating possession, getting plenty of shots on our goal, so many wide open spaces in midfield, bizarre substitutions. Hoyland getting absolutely no service. You know, selecting players not on merit. Ahmad being the obvious example, not getting an opportunity, picking his favourites. Our only saving grace in the last couple of games is that Rashford hasn't been available. He's a player that he always picks no matter what form he's in, but hasn't been able to do that in the last couple of games. And still, Ahmad has not got an opportunity.
No, no. The other thing yesterday was they had 16 shots on target. I mean, the mighty Burnley, no disrespect to them, but that's just adding up week. And the manager comes out with some flimsy excuse that he doesn't mind all these shots on the, it's just illogical reasoning. I don't get it at all. Do you?
No, he doesn't seem too concerned about giving away all these shots to such inferior opposition. Um, I mean, Arsenal, who are challenging for the title, there'll be games where they will concede just one shot on target in the whole of the 90 minutes. That's what a title challenging team does. We give away 31 shots to Brentford, the mighty Brentford. It's just
Okay.
it's chaos, and it's not a recipe for winning football matches. I think now we have won two of our last nine Premier League games. That's relegation form, isn't it?
It is absolutely, yeah, yeah, and he seems to be accepting of the fact that Ericsson will leave. Ericsson has talked to the Danish media, and it suggested that because of lack of game time, he wouldn't stay on. But if you'd seen him, I mean, yesterday he should have been replaced at half time. Kyle, he just couldn't get in the game at all. People were going past him, and he wasn't marking a man, and nobody could understand why he continued to stay on the pitch. There's no time for sympathy and sentiment in the Premier League. If somebody's not doing it, doesn't matter what age he is, he has to be replaced by someone a bit younger and somebody maybe with ambitions to be a long-term player in our first team. He's making some silly decisions.
Yeah, and only give Mason Mount a couple of minutes because the substitute Scott McTominay got injured and Mason Mount came on after 92 minutes. Like, he either should have been starting that game or coming on very early in the second half. And the argument I would make was that we've been waiting a long time for a start now, and he probably should have played instead of Christian Eriksen. But the manager simply will not start Mason Mount or Ahmad in any
No.
game.
And you've referred to a few of Mason Mount's cameos being very positive. Do you remember the game where he scored the goal and finished it very clinically? Yesterday, in the couple of minutes he was on, he made a very good tackle that could have saved a winning goal for Burnley. And he was always available. He was all over the place looking for the ball if he could get anybody to pass it to him. I mean, he wants to make a career. He wants to play first team football, but this manager just gives him token minutes. Can't understand it.
Yeah, he must be very upset by how this season has gone for him because his best friend Declan Rice has been excelling at Arsenal, and he cannot get going at Manchester United. One, because of the injuries, and two, when he's fit, the manager simply will not start him, despite how good he's been as a substitute. So I can really understand his frustrations. I'm hoping that we get a new manager in the summer, and Mason Mount will become part of the first 11. Because I'm sick of seeing the same team selections and the same approach in every single game. I mean, so we've got four league matches left on the FA Cup final, so there is still some Ten Hag loyalists out there, but more and more of the fans are getting fed up. I think the famous supporter Andy Tate has even said that he's lost the fans now. Now it hasn't reached Real Madrid levels where we're getting the white hankies out at Old Trafford. United fans generally don't do that, but the fan when you listen to fans who go to games and the fans online, they've even the ones who are being very patient with the manager have now run out of patience, and they think it's now time for a change. But you and I have been saying that for a very long time now, Nigel, haven't we?
Absolutely. I mean, you were talking earlier about the strengths of Arsenal and why they are where they are. It was clearly stated today, and I saw it myself, that they had 16 goals from set pieces, particularly corners this season. You had Baka taking it with the left foot on the other side and Declan Rice on this side. And they obviously switch and change and perfect things that are positive things. Nothing happens like that at Old Trafford. What have we got? One goal, is it from Maguire from a set piece? Possibly one from Casemiro, but it never varies. Bruno always goes out, and a lot of the times it doesn't beat the man at the first post. There's no variance. What are they doing in training all week? They've loads of time. Particularly, say, from today to Monday week when we play Crystal Palace away. Somebody should be working with the players and trying something different. It's so predictable.
Yeah, I'm boring. It's another one of those performances where you just feel like playing the fruit machines rather than watching the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely abysmal, and I'm not impressed with the fullbacks. I think Armand Bissaka is struggling, and I think that Diogo Dallo is a massively overhyped player who's been making a lot of errors recently, and that was predictable to me. Um, and Casemiro obviously has had to fill in at centre back. But what did you think of that absolute joke of a clearance, or it wasn't a clearance, sorry, it was an attempt to head the ball back to the goalkeeper, and
Yeah,
it was just an up and under, wasn't it?
yeah, it was like something you see in a pub league. It really was. Talk about putting your keeper under pressure, and instead of the basic element of clearing it out to the right or the left, it was so nonchalant. It was very casual. I just think the guy's come to the end of his career and he can't wait for this season to end, and perhaps he'll go to Saudi Arabia for the money and retire after 1 year there, because his capability of playing at the highest level is sinking fast. We can all see it.
He's not the only one who wants the season to end very quickly. So Brush is joining us. So I want to get your thoughts on yesterday's performance against Burnley, Brush.
Ah, absolute shambles, guys. I didn't really see a sense of urgency until the closing moments, if I'm being honest. Um, the penalty decision I had an issue with as well. But obviously, Onana can't keep clobbering people like he does. I thought we got away with one at the very beginning of the season against Wolves. What annoyed me about the pen, though, was the fact that the player wasn't getting to the ball and it was being cleared before Onana made contact. So I was a bit baffled by that one. Also, the handball that went against us that wasn't given as a penalty. I've seen those given, so that was a bit strange. Aside from that, there was very few positives. I was happy for Anthony. That's about it, really.
Yeah, the penalty decision where Anthony played the ball in and it hit the an arm of a of Burnley defender. I think the get out of jail free card for the officials there is that it was close proximity. I would say that'll be their excuse. That'll be the excuse that Dermot Gallagher will come up with tomorrow morning, when asked about it. But given that there's been handballs given against us recently, that will obviously irritate United fans that wasn't given. But I think the close proximity will be the reason that's given. They always have their excuses as to why penalties are not given. But Onana or Anthony, sorry, scored in the game. He's a bit of an enigma, isn't he? He can be absolutely terrible, and then he come up with a moment like that. I think it was the Burnley were kind of the architects of their own downfall there, really, giving the ball away, very very sloppy. And to be fair to him, he took advantage. Um, he ran clear and he finished into the corner. He didn't panic. So he did well in that particular moment. But what did you think of his performance overall, then, Brush?
For me, I think the only way is up with Anthony, right? So I was quite. Is my audio okay? Is it fuzzy?
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Overall, I mean, he still needs to improve, but like I was saying, anything we get out of him is a bonus for me because I had lost hope at one stage. So yeah, the way he capitalized on it, you still need to be alert to get that chance. So I was happy with that. More of the same, please. I was very impressed with Garnacho on the left hand side. He was causing all kinds of problems. It's just a bit of a shame that others in the squad aren't alert to his movement.
Yeah, I don't want Anthony to be any more than a squad player. He doesn't get into a team that's challenging for the top four of the league. In my opinion, certainly not on current form. I mean, it was his first league goal of the season. We have to point that out, which is it's not great from a 86 million pound footballer. Um, but yeah, Garnacho probably going to be the Sir Matt Buzzy Player of the Year award winner. Nigel, what do you think?
Yeah, he would be for me. Yeah, closely followed by Kobe Main, who of course didn't play the first 20 games, but he's played 27 games in a row now. Manu and has been real quality. But once again, after the match in the post-match conference, the manager said that he took Manu up because he's a young player and he's tired. I mean, the next match Brush isn't until Monday week against Palace, and a young player like that doesn't need to be substituted with that sort of. It's not as if we're playing in Europe or playing in a cup match during the week to bring on the quality that we brought on to replace him. The crowd, we had friends there yesterday, Brush, and I was getting messages about how bad they really were and how unhappy the home crowd really is now. And that's the reason, taking off your best midfield player just because he's young. Don't get it.
Yeah,
And did you guys discuss the manager's comments after the game as well? Because I don't know what game he was watching. He said we're the most dynamic and entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he has said that his signing Anthony is unstoppable. I'm still waiting for the bus to start with that bit.
yeah. His post-match comments are certainly becoming more and more delusional. Uh, but that is a pattern with managers who are on the brink of losing their job. They tend to see things that the fans don't, and they are totally out of tune and totally tone deaf. And Ten Hag is the same. I think he's got 5 games left, really. And the thing is, the 4 league games are potentially very, very difficult. Arsenal obviously will be, Newcastle as well. I think both Newcastle and United will be competing for that 6th spot. And then Palace away, who have been in good form of late, and
Uh-huh.
obviously Brighton away. It's traditionally a hard fixture for United, even though they're not in the greatest of form themselves. But could easily see United being turned over there as well, and obviously then Manchester City in the cup final. So I don't want to be too negative, but it is conceivable that United might not win another match this season, guys. What do you think?
It's very possible. It's very possible. It really is. I'm sad to say it.
But all I'll say is Burnley had more possession, by the way, at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I think that
Uh,
sums it up, really, doesn't it? Team in the relegation zone, more
yeah.
possession than us at Old Trafford at home.
Yeah.
Ah,
And 16 shots. Another 16 shots for us.
yeah, yeah. And also Mason Mount, the guy that he went out and signed and identified as the one he wanted, the number 7, uh,
Yeah.
can't even come on as first sub. Why wasn't he on instead of McTominay?
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
55 million, reaching 60, I think. And I'll tell you what, he would have been a free transfer this summer. Me and Carl sat here and talked about it. We were a bit confused by the signing at the time, even more befuddled now.
yeah. Well, with reference to McTominay in his pre-match discussion with MUTV, he said he was still worried about McTominay's fitness, and the most he could give him in this game today would be 20 minutes, perhaps half an hour. I mean, so somebody with that sort of current injury detail, and Mount doesn't get on in front of him. It's just
And Nige, he also said that he brought on Scotty to because he's good at keeping possession. I don't know what version of McTominay he's seen that we haven't.
yeah.
I
He
mean, I
must
can understand if he said he brought him on because we needed a goal, but yeah, to retain possession in midfield.
he must have had a little drink in the dugout or something coming out with that sort of comment.
Yeah, if there's one thing that McTominay is not known for, is his ability to keep the ball. His passing is wayward. The only reason why he plays is to make a late run into the box and score a goal. I don't know what the manager's talking about, to be honest. But we could say that about a number of comments that he's made recently. Um, the breaking news last night after the Chelsea Villa game is that Manchester United can no longer qualify for the Champions League. Um, I'm so shocked at that. I thought we were in with a shout there. I thought we were going to make it. So
No, it really hurts a club of our stature to be where we are, performing at these levels. It is just imagine a huge stadium with a 70,000 plus crowd. Season ticket holders, apparently they were saying to people yesterday that they didn't know whether they'd fulfill the last 2 home fixtures. They're just so fed up with it. I mean, it shouldn't be put up with. It's mediocrity week in and week out.
there's real possibility that we could get a real battering by Arsenal in a couple of weeks' time at Old Trafford, and I'd be fascinating to see the reaction of the home crowd if that does indeed happen. Because Arsenal are in decent form apart from the loss to Villa, and they're still in with the shout of winning the title, albeit they're relying on a slip up from Man City, which hasn't been forthcoming so far. But they they actually last season at Old Trafford, even though we got the points, they outplayed us for long spells and were
Yeah.
probably a bit unfortunate to lose 3-1. Um, we are we are in a much lower place than we were back then, and they are in a much better place. That was at the very beginning of last season. I think it was Anthony's debut. And he scored in that game. But I can see Arsenal coming to United and dominating possession and the chances, and I don't think they'll be as wasteful as Liverpool. I think
No.
they'll take the chances and win 3 or 4-0, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, just on that point, can you imagine at that stage when that fixture is played that somebody is in to play, somebody returns from injury to play beside Maguire, and we have Ericsson and Casemiro in the midfield that day against the Arsenal midfield? That could be humiliation. That could we could lose that fixture 5 or 6 nil because neither of those two guys is going to get close enough to the ball or close enough to the man to tackle a man that they'll totally dominate. Kyle.
Yeah, that would be the worst possible pairing in centre midfield at the moment. Would be Casemiro and Ericsson because there's no legs at all there. Both of them are absolutely finished at this level. Um, I would be if it was me, I would be playing Mason Mount alongside Manu and obviously Fernandez at number 10. That's the best we can do at the moment, really. I know
Yeah,
Mason Mount isn't a number 8 as such, or hasn't really shown himself to be an expert in that role. He's more of a 10 or someone an inside forward, but uh, it needs must at the moment. He's got legs. He's got plenty of those. And Ericsson and Casemiro certainly don't. They're well off the pace. Although Casemiro is filling in centre back at the moment. Uh, you talked about the penalty decision there, Brush. What did you make of Casemiro's header back to Onana? That was absolutely atrocious, wasn't it?
Aye, aye, aye. Like Nigel said, yeah, listen, he's off to Saudi, is he? I don't see how he stays after this season.
Yeah, I don't think he can play at an elite level anymore.
No,
He's
no.
well past it.
Uh,
Um, to be honest, if we could avoid it, I wouldn't be starting him in the cup final. I
mm.
just think he'd be exposed in that game, and whether he played midfield or centre half. But there is a chance that Martinez and Shaw could make the cup final, but I think they'll have to at least play against Brighton if that's going to happen. They're going to have to get 60 minutes in that game because you can't just come in out of the cold and play an FA Cup final against Manchester City. You need
Especially
minutes.
against those lot. Yeah, especially against those lot. Regarding Arsenal, though, I mean, the only hope I have is that hopefully the players understand the importance of that fixture historically and rise to the occasion in a one-off type scenario, a bit like they did against Liverpool in the FA Cup. And even that, we almost messed that up several times.
yeah, that's a good point. You can only hope, but we never know from
Yeah,
one week to the next who's going to
yeah,
try and who's not going to try.
yeah,
There's too
yeah.
many
But
people in our club, Brush, who are on the beach already. They're thinking of Friday.
absolutely. And yeah, I can't lie, Nigel. I am scared of that game because obviously Arsenal have scored the most goals in the league. They've got the best defense in the league as well. And like you say, yeah, it could be a humiliating day.
Yeah, and I mean, and Newcastle have already beaten us twice this season, and they're playing well at the moment. They put 5 past 7 United. They could easily come to Old Trafford and win as well. The way things are going, so yeah, I just want to get these games over with, to be honest, and then get onto the summer transfer window again. Like I think it feels as if every second season is this way. That every second season just peters out, and we look forward to the window more than the actual games. Uh, so, Bruce, I just wanted to ask you while you're here, do you think Ten Hag has passed the point of no return now?
Oh, I'm not sure. It depends entirely on Ineos, doesn't it? Because historically, like whenever new ownership comes in, they always like to bring in their own man and go in a different direction. He's certainly doing himself no favors with his stubbornness and in-game tactics and whatnot. So yeah, I think his stubbornness potentially could get him the sack, even if initially they saw a little bit of promise. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I'm not sure if it depends on the FA Cup, to be honest, because I mean we sacked LVG after he won the FA Cup, so I'm not sure that's enough to save him.
No, I don't think it will be. I mean, we'll go back to it again. What Radcliffe said in February. he highlighted the importance of finishing in the Champions League spots because it'll really help our budget in the summer, and we've got nowhere near that, to be honest. So um, they won't look favorably upon Ten Hag when they're analysing that. I don't think the FA Cup, even it'd be a nice piece of silverware if he won it, but I don't think
Mm.
that'll make any difference, and I don't think it should either because
About the only thing that gives me hope is the way in which we played last season, which is totally different to this year. So he does have some tactics. I don't know where they've gone this year though.
Yeah, but he spent 400 million,
Yep,
Bruce,
yep,
and
that too.
I wouldn't give him another penny. The quality
Yeah,
of those
but
signings.
but I'll tell you what, Nigel. With regards to that, like we've seen that they're making changes upstairs. So structurally, we're going to be very different. So hopefully, those kind of days are behind us.
Well, you would hope so, because he has a
Yeah.
mentality that he either has to buy a Dutchman or somebody who's played in Holland.
Hmm.
It doesn't seem to go anywhere near people from Germany or people from Italy or whatever. It just seems to be this onus on Dutch players that he thinks are good enough at that level. That level where he was playing in Holland, Brush, has nothing to
It's
do with it.
totally different, isn't it? Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the fella gets on at Liverpool now. Arnie Slot, he's coming from the Dutch league.
Good luck to him.
Mm.
I'm quite happy for them to make that appointment. That's a huge gamble.
Yeah,
He hasn't
yeah.
even won as much as what Ten Hag won in Dutch football, so it's
Yeah.
potentially an even bigger gamble for Liverpool there. Um, so I'm going to do some. I'm going to ask you guys to do some player ratings, unfortunately,
Oh,
and then I'm going to get on to the managerial speculation. So, uh, Nigel, Andrew, Onana.
Yesterday's game.
Yeah, yesterday's
Yeah,
game. Yeah,
yeah, right. 2 games this week. He made some good saves, and he was rational and responsible for us effectively not winning the game. I'd give him a 6, and that's been kind.
uh, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Brush.
Wambi, he's uncomfortable for me. I don't like him. Him and Dallo. I think you mentioned it just as I come on. Actually, yeah. A 6 is generous, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Casemiro at centre half, Nigel,
I'd give him a 4.
and Harry Maguire, Nigel.
Oh, I'd give him an 8. I thought he was one of the 2 best players, along with Garnacho, on the 90 minutes that I saw yesterday. He really is proving himself that he can fight back as a man and as a football player. He's done really well. I have to hold my hands up. I wasn't a fan, but I admire how he's come back.
Same here, actually, Nigel. Yeah. After Garnacho and Maino, I think he's probably been our third best player this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Diogo Dalot, Brush.
Dallo again. Yeah, a rotational player at best, isn't he? A 5, a 6
Uh,
at most. 5.
and Menu, Brush.
Mainu again. I don't think he had the best of it, but the young man was definitely probably the best we had in midfield. 6.
And what about Bruno Fernandes, Nigel, for yesterday's performance?
I'd give him a 7. He pinged the post in the first half. Pity that hadn't have gone in. It would have possibly changed the game. But he is on a good run of form with goals and assists, and he as you've referred to earlier, he does try to help the young players, and there are more and more young players coming in because of the injury situation.
He was very unlucky that he couldn't move out of the way in the dying seconds as well with Ahmad's shot,
That's right. Yeah.
because that looked as if it was going to go in.
And if it was Mark and Bruno for the Sheffield United game, it would probably be a 9 out of 10, given the two goals and the assist. Um, Anthony Brush for yesterday's game.
Anthony, I'd give him a 7. I'd give him a 7, probably a generous 7. Obviously, with the goal and that, there's still other elements of his game that he needs to improve. I would love for him to find his right foot.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. You have to go to Brazil to find it.
Yeah, because there was a lovely chance that Garnacho created for him, and unfortunately, positionally, and yeah, it was just on his right, and there was no power on it at all. Oh, what an assist that would have been!
Yes, I remember that. It was great play by Garnacho.
Yeah, yeah, he danced around.
If only that was Hoyland that he picked out
If
there rather
only
than
that was
Anthony.
Hoyland, bloody Hoyland. Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, they won a very, very rare pullback from a winger, and it's to Anthony and not Hoyland. You know.
Yeah.
Um. So Nigel Garnacho, what would you give him for yesterday?
Well, he's the most dangerous forward, and he was definitely good on the ball, but his finishing was very weak yesterday. I'd give him a 6.
Yeah, he's always he's always direct, always going at opponents. They
Yeah,
don't like playing against him. I can see they're getting more and more physical with Garnacho now. They're kicking him and they're fouling him, and they don't like playing against him, as I say. So he's definitely the one player in that United team that no fullback looks forward to playing against. And even if he misses a chance or he gives the ball away, he doesn't let that get him down. He's straight back at them again. He's a great mentality that way. Um, so Rasmus Højlund, Brush, poor old Rasmus, what would you give him?
Uh, he's almost non-existent, but I do keep defending it. It's not really his fault, is it? Like that we just don't create for him. He's lost. Um, and he went off 60th, 65th minute. Uh, I'd give it a 5, but it's not.
Um,
But it's harsh though because we just don't create for him.
we were just saying earlier, Bruce, before you come on, about the wonderful assist by Bruno for Højlund against Sheffield United. That was fantastic, wasn't it? We just
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely marvelous. But Brush, Kyle will tell you, I have backed the centre forward to score first
yeah.
in the last 4 games, so
hmm
it hasn't even been close.
No, no, it hasn't, and I feel so sorry for the kid because he should never be in this position. Again, this goes down to the management and the transfer system and stuff. To go into a season with just a 20-year-old striker as your main striker, one and only striker, it's ridiculous. Um,
uh,
and obviously the fee brings expectations as well that shouldn't really be there. This is a guy who last season scored 9 goals in Italy,
And
in the top flight.
yeah, yeah. But
another
remember,
big.
Brush, he didn't play. He came with an injury. Would you believe? Having paid all
Yeah,
that money, didn't play for a month. That's another thing that other managers that have been at Old Trafford, that would never have happened. That's crazy stuff.
yeah, yeah. And to not even dip into the loan market to get another more experienced striker as backup is ridiculous.
It is.
You can't go into a season with just him and flipping Martial, who, thank heavens, is finally leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I drive him to the airport myself.
yeah. I mean, if Vikhorst was available, we should have got him in for
Oh,
another major issue.
I should specify someone who could actually hit the target and score
Yeah,
goals, Carl.
an actual competent striker.
Towards the end, we just started clapping when he hit the target, let alone score.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Another major issue for me, and probably the biggest one, is the fact that a United number 9 is relying on service from inside forwards who like to cut
Yeah.
in and shoot. I,
hmm
I, I I don't know what the manager's trying to do there. What's the point in even playing a striker at all if you're just going to have wingers cutting in and shooting all the time? But what we want to see, which we haven't seen enough of, we obviously seen it against Sheffield United, is the link up between the number 10 and the number 9. We want to see a lot more of that. We want to see Bruno finding them.
hmm
Um, like we seen how in that short spell where Ronaldo was there, how Bruno would pick him out. Against Tottenham, that always sticks in my mind. That was a wonderful assist and a wonderful finish. We want to
yeah,
see Bruno pick out Hoyland more and more and give him chances.
yeah.
Because
Well, you see, Ronaldo and Bruno are international colleagues, so there's a history there. Rasmus has to struggle from absolutely a low base, but I can see him making moves, Kyle, and and then you see it in his face. He's hurting because he does make good
hmm
sprints, and nobody ever sees him brush, and you know it.
Yeah. It sometimes and they just don't pick him out. You see the
Yeah,
run, but they don't pick him out. It's ridiculous.
yeah,
Surely that comes from management, though, right?
of course, absolutely.
yeah,
And then we also talk about the lack of legs in midfield. Amrabat, surely he has to take responsibility for that as well.
Absolutely. How he
Ah,
come on? How he come on yesterday just baffles me.
yeah, yeah.
There was a
Eight,
growth
eight,
in the
eight and
guy.
a half million, I think it was for that loan. Ridiculous
Yeah,
waste of money.
absolutely.
Ah,
I think it was 10 million actually.
10. Okay.
Was it?
I thought that was in euros. I was doing the math to pounds.
So Ahmad, Nigel, what'd you give him for his cameo yesterday?
Well, he was only on for 25 minutes, but he certainly made himself available. I'd give him a 6.
Yeah, he should be starting.
Yeah.
Um, so Scott McTominay, who came on and went off again through because of injury. Brush, what'd you make of him?
Did you see much of
No.
it? A 5.
And finally, Eric Ten Hag. What does he get for yesterday, Nigel?
Well, he didn't get a result, so he got a 1 for me. That's just for picking a bad team. I'll give him a 1. And a substitutions, he should be in the minus numbers.
Yeah, he gets a 1 just for showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And he never ever smiles, does he? He scowls permanently. He never seems to be enjoying the game, and and he sends the team out, and it's his team. He's spent all this money, but he never ever smiles, does he? Can anybody? It seems to be a permanent scowl. You want to enjoy football on a Saturday. He's under so much pressure. You could see the man and as you talked about irrational things he says in the press conferences, it clearly shows on his face on the touchline.
Yeah, very much giving the impression of a man who's coming towards the end of his time in charge. And I'll be amazed if that doesn't happen. Uh, and just on that, there's been plenty of links this week, and Bruce, you're especially not going to like this.
Oh no.
Thomas Tuchel, the Bayern Munich manager.
Could you imagine if he brings Eric Dyer with him and we start with like
Oh no,
Maguire and Dyer at the back?
Oh God,
please no. Um,
that would be Gar.
Oh yeah,
so
ah,
Christian Falk, the prominent German journalist who covers Bayern Munich and gets
mm,
all the info first on that club. He says now Man United also showed interest in Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel would
okay.
be ready for a new challenge in the summer and is very interested in Manchester
Mm,
United. Um, there's there's pros and cons to this. At the moment, there's probably more cons really, given how he's performed at Bayern Munich. Um, so I'll ask you both then. So Brush, first of all, how do you feel about this?
I'm not the biggest fan of this. I don't like the way he plays football. So just the way he sets up and stylistically, it's not for me. Um, on the plus side, obviously he brings a wealth of experience. He's been to the very top. He's won the European Cup. So he brings that. He can manage big players. So there's that. But yeah, the style of play I'm not a fan of. But with what we've been linked with before, if you're mentioning people like Gareth Southgate, I'm reluctantly gonna have to go with Tuchel. So yeah,
Yeah, if it's a choice between Southgate, Potter, and Tuchel, it's
yeah.
definitely Tuchel all day long. So Nigel, how would you feel about Thomas Tuchel taking over at Old Trafford?
I agree entirely with what Bruce said there. He's made all the relevant, pertinent points. All the other two just simply wouldn't fit. He would want to come. Apparently, wants to get back to the Premier League, but whether he's going to have the same emphasis on youth or whether he's going to ask Ratcliffe and Co for a big budget to buy big, etc. I have reservations about that.
Well, he won't be buying the players. That's the important thing to remember. That it'll be the new directors, Jason Wilcox and Don Ashworth, whenever he
And that's
starts.
definitely what we have to address because right now we've got a good core of youth coming through that are there now. So the likes of Mainu, Garnacho, Hoyland, these are the guys we need to build around.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
one guy I mentioned to Kyle the other night, Brush, that I've seen
Hmm.
called Shea Lacey. Now,
Oh yeah, the right winger.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
17. He signed his first contract, but I've seen
Yep.
him play in 4 games, and he's the same sort of player like Foden. We could only
Hmm.
hope and dream that he would be that good,
If
but
he's
he's
half the
certainly,
if
yeah,
he's half the player I'll be out.
yeah, his left peg. I mean, he scored 4 goals and 3 assists, and looks
Hmm.
superbly confident on the ball, and is always positive. You know the way Rashford stops the ball now and passes it back
Hmm.
rather than takes anybody on. This guy in his makeup through the academy, they're letting him play and go at defenses. I just hope that is not coached out of him,
Hmm. Hmm.
that he gets the opportunity to develop as the old United way, that the the best and can Chelsea's
Yeah,
the people that sort of stuff. That's I'm
yeah.
too old.
That's the thing about modern day football, though, isn't it? Nice, like they coach the flair and creativity out of players. It's
Yeah,
almost as if they're scared to just do what comes naturally, and overthink things.
absolutely. Well, I mean, we've seen Garnacho and Meno come through, and I'm hoping that he's one of the next that comes out if they
Yeah.
look after him. He seems to be very balanced, and he wants his career. He's from the world, Liverpool guy. Liverpool wanted
Hmm.
him. But he said there was only one club I'm playing for, and it's Manchester United. And that's the we see so many players there every Saturday who are in the team but don't really want to play. They seem
Yeah.
to me to be just want the money and the glamour of the club, and they
And that's
haven't.
the thing. That's the thing. It's all about attitudes as well, and that's the kind of player you want at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
There always has to be that balance of kids coming through who understand the traditions.
Yeah, the United way, and the fans don't sing attack, attack, attack for fun. That's the
Hmm.
way we United are a team that likes to entertain and score goals and play well, and it's just not there at the moment. We're going back to the Van Hal passing it easily back across the back four instead of being forceful and going more dynamic. Brush getting forward
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? There always has to be a balance at United between results and style. You can't compromise.
No,
Yeah, I don't think Tuchel would be the perfect fit, that's for sure. But he could be arriving at Old Trafford as a double Champions League winner if things go well for Bayern Munich at the end of the season. But they will have to beat Real Madrid over two legs, and that seems like a tall order, given that they've been in very poor form by their standards in the league. Albeit they're up against a team that's
I
unbeaten
mean,
in
it's
all competitions.
unprecedented. Yeah, what's happening at Leverkusen is unprecedented, isn't it?
yeah,
And again, he survived. 96th minute equalizer to keep the unbeaten run going.
They've
yeah.
scored after the 90 minutes 10 times this season,
It's
to
madness.
rest. Yeah. So um, one thing I don't understand is why there's been almost, well, there has been a little bit, but not much talk of Inzaghi coming to United. He's been
Mm.
very successful manager in Italy. He's won 8 trophies with his time at Lazio and Inter Milan, and got done very well in the Champions League final against Manchester City. He's won the Scudetto by a mile this season. Um, Plays really entertaining football, actually, albeit he uses wing backs. Um, so Brush, what do you think if United decide to go for him, Inzaghi? Would you be
He's a
happy?
very exciting manager. He's walked the league this year with Inter. In Italy, he's probably gone as far as he can go, to be fair. So if he wants a new challenge, but then with that, with the way he plays, it would require big investment because he likes wing backs, and we haven't got one between us.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah. Well, United are apparently in talks to sign Jeremy Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen,
He has
and
a very nice release clause in his contract as well. It's about 34 million.
he has been absolutely amazing this season at right wing back for Bayer Leverkusen. Scores so many goals.
Mm.
Obviously, he used to play for Celtic as well, and he was so good. He only lasted a year and a half in Scottish football and Bayer
What age
Leverkusen.
is he, Kai?
He's still only 23, I think.
Oh, that's
Um,
excellent. That's more like it.
uh, yeah, it's amazing the amount of goals that he's got for a right wing back. But if United do sign him, that would suggest that they are potentially going after Inzaghi as a coach, because you wouldn't bring Frimpong in unless you want to play a 3-5-2 formation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because you need that protection with the back three with someone like him because he's essentially a winger.
yeah, and he has 13 goals this season. He's gradually been increasing his number of goals. He's got 9 last season. I remember he scored against West Ham there in the London Stadium a couple of weeks
Hmm.
ago as well. Um, he scored a he scored a when Bayer Leverkusen were playing Bayern Munich. He caught the keeper off his line and he lobbed it over him from long range, and that was a brilliant goal too. So yeah, very exciting footballer. We also would need a left wing back as well in that scenario, but you, uh, you might say a Luke Shaw, but serious fitness concerns now. He's so many injuries in his career. Has barely played at all this season, and he's approaching 30. we really do need to sign a replacement for Shaw now, don't we, Nigel?
Oh, we do, yeah, yeah. Sadly, he had that major injury in the Champions League in Spain that time. Do you remember that animal nearly took his leg off?
I was PSV Eindhoven, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but Eindhoven, yeah, that was an awful tackle. Awful tackle. He is one of the best left backs, but he just doesn't play enough. We're never going to win the Premier League with someone. I think what is it? He only played a dozen games this season. It's not value for money anymore. It's unfortunate. He's been there 9 years, but I agree with you. We need a new left back as well on a permanent basis.
It's a real shame as well because when he does
Yeah.
play, he is good.
Oh, he
He
is
sets
good.
the week
No
off.
doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We just can't
Yeah.
rely on him. And talking of injuries as well, where the hell is Malacia this season? What's happened to him?
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking to Kyle earlier, Brush, and that's another weakness of the manager. He will
Yeah.
not explain properly how and where and when, and uh, as if he says it's a private thing. I don't consider the manager of Manchester United with a
Hmm.
squad of 25 players, and there's so many playing the Champions League and so many playing the Premier League, and he doesn't seem to think that we should know, the fan base or the journalists, when players are returning and even the nature of the injury. I just don't think that's sort of
Yeah,
negative
it's quite
activity.
baffling because
Yeah.
yeah, like at one point in the season, I was like, yeah, we should start putting this picture on a milk carton. Missing, please contact if found. And then on Twitter sometimes we see the odd picture of him smiling in a car. So I'm like, all right, so what's the injury?
Yeah, yeah. But the other thing about that player is that apparently, now it's press speculation, Kyle, you'd probably know more about this than me, that he chose to have his operation back in Holland while the club wanted it to have him somewhere else. And that player
Mm.
shouldn't be. If they're paying him a huge salary, it's not up to him to decide whether he has his
Um,
operation.
the first surgery didn't go well, and he had to have the correctional surgery, and the same surgeon that performed the first one did the second one as well. Um, so let's hope it works out for him this time. But he's lost an entire season of his career now. Not that he was first choice for United anyway. He just would have been
Oh,
useful with Luke
yeah,
Shaw being missing. But he's certainly not a United first team player in my opinion, based on what we've seen so far from him. Um, and it was Hector Moreno who broke Luke Shaw's leg. That would be a quiz question on the question of sport.
all right, right.
um, and what was most infuriating about that was that he scored in that game. He should have been red carded immediately rather than
He
being allowed
should.
to score.
He should. Do you remember that tackle, Brush? It was awful.
Yeah, yeah, it was disgusting. It was so bad. Um, yeah, I even read up on it afterwards where they were saying like initially it was so bad that they thought he might need an amputation. I was like, what? So he's lucky to even be playing football now and walking around.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
you can still see the scars on his leg. I seen a close up a
Yeah.
few months ago where the screws were put in.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he's been the same since. And psychologically, that must take such a big toll on you. And you must have that in the back of your mind every time you're up bombing up and down that left hand side.
Absolutely. That's why I thought Mourinho was so unfair. The way he
Yeah.
treated Luke Shaw, he didn't seem to
Hmm.
appreciate that he nearly had to give up the game completely because of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, again, he's a certain type, isn't he? The way he dealt with Schweinsteiger was disgusting.
it was awful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad there's a bit of light on it now since that recent interview with Gary Neville. But I remember at the time I thought it was terrible as well because I'm a big fan of Basti, especially at a time where we had lost all of that experience in the back room when Rio, Evra, and Vidic all left one after the other. I just thought even if he wasn't at his best, to have a World Cup winner, to have a Champions League winner, to have someone who had been to the top of the game, even in the dressing room for the young players, it would have been fantastic. Um, and
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
credit to him as well, because even when he was out in the cold, he didn't complain. He kept going. And I remember that last game he played as well for us in the League Cup against Wigan, and he put in a man of the match performance.
That's right. That's right. It's a bit like Ibra when he arrived for a
Yeah,
short period. He was
and
able to
I'll
help.
tell you, what, Nigel. Even now, whenever United play, he tweets about it.
Schweinsteiger, yeah.
Schweinsteiger, yeah, always encouraging us to go get a result. And could you imagine? I mean, there's players who spent years here who don't do the same.
No, no, no. Shameful. Desperate.
Yeah, he did say in that interview with Gary Neville that his brother is a big United fan, and United were always his second favorite team after Bayern Munich, and his
Yeah,
only
yeah. There's a picture of him in the 2001 shirt with the Vodafone sponsor.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's just a pity it didn't really work out for him, but yeah. Mourinho had been told um, that Schweinsteiger had been jet setting a lot while he was injured, going out to watch his girlfriend, the Anna Ivanovic, the tennis
Hmm.
player, going to Dubai and the US and Italy and all these places to go watch her play while he was injured. And Mourinho had been told that and thought this guy's not committed, so I'm just going to banish him from the first
Surely,
place.
surely any good man manager would sit down and have that face-to-face conversation themselves
exactly. Yeah,
instead
but
of just taking somebody else's word for it. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was interesting that the guy that told him he wasn't allowed in the first team dressing room was John Murta, of all people.
Mm.
Yeah,
Good riddance. Good riddance.
but
he's the fellow. He's the fellow when Bellingham was at Old Trafford that he sort of got him out of the road before
Mm.
we got him.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
that was
wouldn't allow Ferguson to speak to Bellingham. Yeah, that was disgraceful. Yeah.
disgusting. Yeah, he was in the director's box yesterday.
Mm.
I don't know why, because he's been sacked.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I'd heard a rumor that, or a couple of years ago, David Beckham wanted him at Inter Miami, and I wonder if that post still available for him. But anyway, at least he's left United and was replaced immediately, basically by Jason Wilcox. So we've seen a lot of him now, not just at first team games, but at youth games as well. And
Yeah.
um, he's going to be doing an evaluation of the current situation at United and doing an evaluation of Ten Hag. That'll be very interesting to see the findings of that. Um, yeah, he's only got they've only got a few weeks left now to make a decision
yeah.
on whether to keep her or keep the manager or get a new one in. But
Well, Kai, you'll notice that the proverbial vote of confidence hasn't been given by Ratcliffe to
no, it
Ten
hasn't.
Hag, and I think that's because the decision's already been made. I think he's
Mm.
yesterday he's toast.
Yeah, I don't think if they have decided to get rid of him, they don't want to announce that while we're still in with a chance of winning the FA Cup, albeit a very slim chance. Um, but it, I have some very strong opinions on this, and some people will not agree with me. But I was even just thinking yesterday. I just wish I think we need to have somebody else in charge for the FA Cup final because I don't think we've any chance of winning it with Ten Hag in charge. Ideally, I would like to have either an interim coach or the new coach in charge for that particular game to give us a chance of winning that silverware. Because Nigel, as you pointed out many times, Arsenal have 13 FA Cups and we have 12 or whatever it is. We need
Yep.
to win that, and I think if Ten Hag takes charge of that FA Cup final, we're going to lose. And I feel very strongly about that.
No, you're right. This is our 24th final, and yet I mean, our winning record in recent times is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we need that new manager bounce in the FA Cup final. I feel to try and give us a chance of
Yeah.
winning that game because it's fairly important because not only do Arsenal have more FA Cups, but Liverpool I think have more trophies now than us overall. So
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
you
what
know,
about you, Brush? Are you available that weekend? Is your diary free?
I am available to sit there and cry. That's what I'll be doing on that day, Nigel. Yeah, the Coventry thing was such a mess.
Yeah,
3-0 up and we're so comfortable, and you just think, how did we end up that? I aged a couple of years watching that game.
yeah, yeah,
but Ten Hag didn't think it was an embarrassment. He thought the reaction was
Ah,
embarrassing,
yeah. That's right. Yeah,
and he banned 3 journalists for saying that.
mm.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And then in the
Um,
dying moments, I thought we'd lost.
yeah.
Yeah,
There
thought
was
we'd
only
lost
a
it.
toenail in it, Kyle.
By the
Ah,
way, if that fourth Coventry goal had counted, I think
yeah.
Ten Hag would have been sacked the next morning. No doubt
Mm.
about that in my mind. So, guys, let's hope that we get a new manager, first of all. I want to be honest about that. And secondly, win the FA Cup and try and salvage something from this horrible season. So, Nigel, thanks as always for coming on.
No problem. Enjoyed it, Kyle.
And Brush, thank you for joining us, albeit very late today.
Late substitution. Ollie.
Good substitution. Nice to talk to you, Bruce.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as always, Nigel. Thank you guys for having me.
Right.
All right,
Cheers.
see you later, guys. Till next time.
Take
Bye.
care.